Welcome to Timelines, episode 150. Today in Timelines, timelinesofsuccess.com, we have Josh Brown from Alpha, did I get that right? Alpha Agent, alphaagent.com. He's coming to us from Albany, Oregon. And Josh is all about helping real estate agents get to the higher levels using SEO, websites, and communication systems. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bill. I'm glad to be here.
So we're going to talk about you and what you do and how you got there. You've been doing this for 5 or 6 years. You're working exclusively now with real estate agents?
Yeah, so I've only been working with real estate agents for maybe about a little over a year, maybe a year and a half, but I've been doing marketing for quite a long time, specifically digital marketing for about 7 years. So
that's a long time in digital marketing. What kind of changes have you seen in 7 years?
Well, my original website was built on Google Sites. I don't know if you have any experience with that. And then from there, I transitioned into WordPress. And so I kind of started seeing the WordPress from the beginning, when it was not the beginning necessarily, but from when it was still kind of up and coming before it really took over and became the main platform. So, and now it's become pretty prevalent. So I've watched that whole change take place and happen. Obviously the onset of Facebook advertising and kind of watching Google ads come and go, or not go, but come into the situation that they're in now. So,
you know, one thing I noticed, a common theme is things work for a period of time and then everyone else catches on because it's social. But the guy who gets there, or girl, woman, whatever, who gets there first in anything usually wins.
Sure.
And that's the key, is how do you get there first? How do you know what the next trend is? How do you know what's going to help you in real estate? So what you do is you put together websites. Is that your primary business for the agents and also consult?
Yeah. The website thing has kind of come from a necessity. I mostly like to focus on search engine optimization, but being that a lot of agents are in a position where they don't have anything to optimize, or what they do have isn't set up to be optimized properly, and it's easier to tear it down and start over. Offering websites was a natural extension of offering search engine optimization, but SEO is kind of the main front there. Also, obviously, though, offering the WordPress websites. I love working with WordPress, so search engine optimization and WordPress go hand in hand. It's just the best way to handle SEO, in my opinion. And then I do a few other things, obviously, like just peripheral services that'll go along with that, like helping with conversion rate optimization, generating more leads from the existing traffic you get, and just general consulting about how to integrate all of that with the rest of your marketing.
Now, you've been on the Mail-Right Real Estate Show, haven't you?
That was just last week. Yep.
It was last week. I was looking for it coming up. Which episode here? I'll have to find it. But yeah, you're in the Mail-Right Real Estate Show with Jonathan Denwood, and that's one of the network shows I helped put together.
Sure.
And it sounds like you could fit on WP Tonic with your background, especially with WordPress.
Yeah, you guys might be even far more advanced than I am, but yeah, I think that would be a good fit too. So
we don't know everything. Jonathan is a SaaS developer, but
right.
We've literally interviewed the very top people in that industry. We had the developer of Dynamic on last night or yesterday, which was a pretty good interview.
Okay, cool.
So what do you find is the biggest challenge you have in your business, and why did you choose to go into this niche?
I think probably the biggest thing with the real estate industry is overcoming all the hype. There's also there's a lot of hype, and there's a lot of, I feel like, skepticism in the industry. So when you approach real estate agents, I think their initial default mindset is that you're trying to scam them. And so that's a difficult thing to overcome, try to make them understand that what you're trying to offer actually has some real value. I think too many agents get into what they consider online marketing, whether that's just dabbling in social media or setting up a website or advertising, whatever it is they decide to do online. And then they don't do it wholeheartedly, and they don't do it with a good enough strategy and approach, and they don't necessarily have enough knowledge. And so obviously all the hype, it doesn't live up to all that hype. And so I think a lot of them get very frustrated. And then that frustration turns into skepticism, which I have to try to overcome when I'm saying, hey, look, there is real value here. You just need to have a little bit, I just need to help point you in the right direction so you can find it. that's easily the biggest thing to overcome for sure.
So when you say point them in the right direction,
I mean, it just depends what we're talking about. I mean, if they want to sit down and talk about search engine optimization, or they want to talk about what their website should and shouldn't be and how that's supposed to function, it just depends on what is in their mind at that point in time, what they're looking to focus on. And sometimes it's actually just helping them understand what they do need to focus on, because marketing is torn in 100 different directions today. I mean, in the past where it was like, okay, you just take out some ads and you go kiss some babies and shake some hands. Now there's hundreds of different tactics that you can take with marketing. And that doesn't even include all of the offline versus online stuff. And so there's so much to think about and so much to consider that as a real estate agent that has limited time and limited resources, I think that they struggle to understand where to even start. And so it's like a overwhelm paralysis. And
right.
So some of it is sitting back and saying, hey, look, I can offer you these services. They may or may not fit with what you need at this time. And so maybe it would just be more me helping them out, saying, hey, you have X budget and X and Y amount of time. Let's talk about what's even possible for you before we start prescribing you tactics.
So how do you actually figure out what you're going to charge a client? And we're getting off topic. This is your timeline, but we're actually going into like the next show.
Sure. Yeah, it just, I have set package pricing, and I've based that on a number of different factors. I try to keep it as value-based as possible. So that would be what I feel like that's worth to the agent. So there's always there's always a ROI in it for them. But I also base it on industry factors. I mean, there's a lot of really, I mean, if an agent really wants to go cheap, they can go set up a Placer website for $10 a month. It's hard to compete with something like that. So I have to offer above and beyond to get them to understand what I'm offering is going to have advantages later on for them. So some of it's based on competition. Some of it's based on what I feel like they need. And then obviously also just my time. So, but I do like to tie that all up into packages. So it's a nice, neat price. I'm not going to be charging you hour upon hour for my time. So
how do you decide, first of all, how do you find the clients? So,
I mean, I like to think that since I'm selling marketing and I'm a marketer, that I would get my clients through marketing. And that's how I do it. So currently it's a mix of doing a lot of content marketing. I'm because I've only been in the industry for roughly a year and a half, and only about probably only about a year of that has been, not even a year of that's been under this brand name. So prior to that, I had another company that was focused kind of on all industries, and I was slowly tailoring that towards real estate. And then I decided to rebrand under Alpha Agent. So when that happened, then I decided to kind of put more time into the SEO, specifically focused on real estate. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach right now. SEO, which is still got a lot of work to do. If you're not familiar with SEO, it just takes time to build it up. So and then the other thing would be a lot of guest blogging and content marketing. Apologize, I'm babysitting a puppy here.
That's fine. We have puppies too.
And then also Facebook advertising and webinars. So I like to kind of create a funnel there where I'm advertising through Facebook, but rather than just asking for leads, the goal is to try to point people to resources that I've developed, like the guide that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I love that guide. It's in here too.
Yeah, the guide to local SEO. It's in the notes there on the right-hand side. I'll try to create resources like that and point people to them and build some value there in the relationship before I go asking for anything. So
that's the Zeth Go and give it away for free, because I'd pay for that book. That's the best. That by far is the best, what we call lead magnets I've ever seen.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I put quite a bit of work into that one. Maybe too much.
How are you to put mine together?
Yeah.
That's funny. Hey, it's about you. So what, in a couple minutes, going back is, where'd you grow up? What areas?
Sure. So I'm an Oregon native. I grew up in a town. I was born in a town called Newburgh and lived in that area my entire life till I was 18. Moved off to college. That was in Corvallis, which is actually where I'm living now. It's Corvallis, Albany is like right next to each other, it's only about an hour away. So all this
went to school.
Yeah, Oregon State University, home of the Beavers. We didn't have a great football season this year, but I'm still a fan.
Nice uniforms, though.
Yeah.
Don't you guys change your uniforms like every game or something?
No, that's our rivals. That's the Ducks. They're actually good at football. So yeah.
So what you studied? You studied marketing in school?
I actually just studied entrepreneurship. So no focus on marketing specifically. And then
Well, is
Yeah.
that your major, like entrepreneurship? Is that a major?
Yeah, it was a brand new offering at the time. And so I knew I wanted to go into business, but I wasn't sure which avenue to take. And then they started offering the entrepreneurship courses. And so I went for that. And it was interesting. It was brand new. So it wasn't exactly, they were kind of weaving it all together that first year I was there. So it was interesting though. It was a really cool experience. I got to do a lot of different things as you would expect being an entrepreneur. And so, yeah.
So, well, with that, we're going to go to a pause and then come back with your life and success principles. Okay, that means we're back for a marketing section of this podcast. So we always want to thank Share the Oils of Northern Nevada. Always want to thank them for their technical guidance and advice, as well as their product and information. And finally, go on over to netcasting101.com. It's my digital product that's not up yet, but it's under $40. And hopefully that whole project turns into about $200 project. And it's all about how to create online content through using social media and systems and processes, a lot like we're doing here. Well, without further ado, let's get right back to Josh Brown. We're going to go into his success and life principles. And I better pull those darn things up and look at them because I'm doing it right live on the website today. We put up the notes. That's one thing about this is fun, is you get to change and modify things every day until you get something right. And plus we get to talk to people like Josh, who are just so interesting in doing things that are making successful people in other businesses like real estate. So Josh, your first success principle was mindset.
Yeah. Well, let me kind of preface this a little bit. So one, all of these success principles, the three that we chose are a work in progress for me. So by no means assume that I have these things down pat. Everything I'm trying to work on every day. I actually created a list similar to the one you have on the website, Bill, of my own kind of success principles and things that I considered like my mantra almost. And you just continue to add to it till it was eventually just hundreds of them long. But these are the three that when I was kind of looking over what you had and then things that I was thinking of that kind of resonated with me the most. And the first one, like you mentioned, mindset, that comes from the fact where I was sitting down trying to write out goals. And I was doing it in like a horizons approach. I don't know if you've ever read the book, Getting Things Done by David Allen.
No, I know of the book. I haven't read it yet though. I should read it.
He talks about,
reference.
Okay. He talks about these 5 horizons in your life. And on the highest horizon, you kind of have your life mission and your goals. And then it goes all the way down to what he calls the ground horizon, which is your ground level, like the day-to-day activities that you're trying to do. And so I was planning I was putting all these things together in my life plan, more or less is what you could call it, trying to fill out all these horizons that would end up leading me to what I was doing even that day. And what I kind of discovered though, was that no matter what, if you're trying to put together a vision and a life mission, if you don't have the right mindset going into it, you're going to have a really difficult time building out how you feel you should feel about your life. There's not a really easy way to say that. So I kind of added what I called like my 6th horizon. It was even above my life mission statement and my vision for myself. And it was my mindset, because if my mindset was all wrong, then it was impossible to craft that vision. Especially on a day-to-day basis. And so I find mindset to be one of the most important things, especially as an entrepreneur where everything's a roller coaster ride. It's constantly up and down. Things are changing. One day things are awesome. The next day things can be terrible. If you don't have a healthy mindset to kind of carry you through that, it's really difficult to feel like you're keeping your head above water. And so above all these things, I feel like mindset's extremely important.
I would agree 110%. I can look at from both the military aspects of being in combat, about mindset for the survivors and the people who maintain, and as well as business. And for me, mindset's always tough. Being an entrepreneur, as you know, is extraordinarily difficult unless it's difficult because you're always short of money, it seems like.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you can make a lot of money fast, and I have done it different times, but an entrepreneur has a tendency to keep on going. Yeah.
And the persistence, that was one of the principles I almost decided to talk about today. Persistence is really important, but I feel like, and mindset, it's one of those tough things. It's hard to put your finger on what you actually mean by mindset. I think you have to have a pretty good understanding of who you are, and it might mean something else for everyone else, but for different people. But for me, mindset is just, if you don't have a healthy, strong mindset and you're not a resilient person and you're not squared away with what you want and your value system, which are things that you need to just work on and develop all the time, you're going to have a really difficult time understanding what your purpose is and understanding why you're doing what you're doing. So this whole thing's a big cycle to me. Understanding what you do that day turns into your goals, and your goals turn into what actually happens. What actually happens turns into your mindset, and you need to kind of continue to build those things day in and day out. So
one of my projects is called I'm writing a book or a blog, and I'm putting it out. And it's the very first topic is mindset. It's funny you mentioned that. And this is what the lead into the book is. The Millionaire Netcaster is dedicated to the men and women who with entrepreneur spirit, get up every day, create content, and never give up.
Cool. Yeah.
I mean, you got to think that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's tough to do day in and day out. And that's the thing. Mindset, I've noticed it's fleeting. Mine changes day to day. One day I'll be on top of the world, and then the next day I am just drained, and it's difficult to get out of bed. And so that understanding, if you can't see that shift from day to day, you're going to have a really hard time understanding how to cope with things.
Yeah.
Not just as an entrepreneur, just in life in general. So
my family started a business right after World War II. It was very successful, still in business. And I just look back and I'm amazed at what they did and what they must have done. I never noticed it as a kid. I was just a happy kid, playing sports. By the way, did you play any sports? We didn't talk about that.
I played traditional sports my whole life. And I haven't recently, just for different reasons, but yeah, I played football, basketball, baseball, tennis. I even did track for a year. So I did a lot of sports. It was basically my entire life all the way through high school.
Yeah, I love sports. That's when the American spirit, I think that's what we do best, is these sports in high school that make great soldiers, by the way.
Sure. If you want to read a good book on mindset too, it's a little weird and it can get a little metaphysical at times, but the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh,
it's one of those classics that everyone talks about, and I think it gets cliched, and it's one of those books you kind of have a hard time listening to because he starts talking about some pretty weird things, I'd say, sometimes. But if you're willing to kind of pull out the patterns from the book and take it with a grain of salt, there's some really powerful mindset stuff in that book. So I highly recommend that book. Try it on audiobook. It's one of those things where if you're trying to read it, you might get bored, but if you're listening to it in the car and you're already bored, you might listen to it better.
Yeah, I have audiobooks. I downloaded another one of his books. I haven't got through it yet. I've got through about half of it listening. It's because no one around me when I'm driving wants to listen to it. It's something about Napoleon Hill and devil or something. Has a discussion with the devil. Have you heard of that?
It's
crazy. Yeah. He did some crazy things way ahead of his time, but his wife would, after he passed away, would never let that book out.
Right.
It's crazy though. Oh my. So driving on, eat healthy.
So this is funny because this ties straight into mindset, in my opinion. So and what sucks about eating healthy is it's a horribly vague comment, and everyone that you talk to will have a different idea of what eating healthy is. But the idea for me is that I realized mindset was extremely important for me, and the only way to get there on a day-to-day basis and be consistent was to try to be resilient in my health. And if you're not resilient in health, if you're not exercising properly and you're not consistent with your, I call it a diet, but the food that you put in your mouth will absolutely change your mood, and your mood will change your mindset. And so these things all tie back to each other. And I feel like eating healthy and trying to just be healthy overall is probably the most important aspect of any success that I've had. And the times in my life where I've felt like I was struggling was when I wasn't healthy, and it was for various reasons. But I've spent a lot of time working on my diet and stuff, and I get a lot of glances from family and friends when I tell them what I'm doing now at this point in time with my diet, or when I come over and I only have one thing from the dinner they made on my plate because I was deciding not to eat something else. And it's been really difficult to implement, but overall it's been probably one of the most impactful things I've done in my life, because once I had that squared away, I felt like I had the energy to tackle the rest of the things in my life. From just exercising more to being able to do stuff like we're doing right now. When I wasn't healthy and when you're feeling tired and down and your mood is low, sitting here trying to talk to someone and having like a positive energy coming out of you it's impossible almost. So I feel like I mentioned, I think mindset's one of the most important things, but if you want a healthy mindset, you have to eat healthy. And there's so much more that goes into that. Unfortunately, I think eating healthy is one of those things where people need to change their relationship with food. You need to stop looking at it like it's entertainment. You need to stop looking at it like it's a diet, something that's going to be temporary. And you need to really realize that food is going to be it's an integral part of your life, and you need to really change the way you think about it and the way you're working with it. and handling it. There's have you heard of blue zones, Bill?
No, I haven't. But I tell you what, I was in the reserve military for 30 years, went to advanced course. So I wrote 5 papers on health and diet.
Oh, okay.
So I can tell you how it changed over 30 years. And the glycemic index is one of the biggest evolutions if you understand the glycemic. So what's the blue zone? I was going to ask you if there's any books or techniques you like.
Sure. Yeah. I'll get into that in a second. I just wanted to mention though, the blue zones, there's a few of them around the world, and it's where there's,
oh yeah, I know it. Yeah.
They're considered like the healthiest places in the world. They have the most centenarians. So the most people that are living over 100 years of age. I believe there's one in Costa Rica, and there's one, Okinawa, Japan's the most famous of them. Although their health is dwindling because they're starting to adopt Western diets. But the idea is that these people, the one profound thing that I pulled from one of the books I was reading was that the people who were eating healthy, the people who were the most healthy in these blue zones around the world, is they had a very intimate relationship with food. They all spent a lot of their day cooking. And I know as a real estate agent or as a marketer or someone running net casting, you don't have time to cook and eat your food all day, and you're on the run and you're moving around, but you need to slowly change that mindset. And that's kind of what I mean by changing this relationship with food. If you're not taking the time to create healthy meals and stuff, then you're going to really struggle to be and feel healthy. And so it's one of those things where you feel like, oh, I don't have time to do that. But I would argue that you don't have time not to do it, because just think if you ate well, maybe throw in some exercise. I think eating is more important but throw in some exercise and maybe some meditation. And what if a few changes in your life just improve your efficiency by 10%? I mean, think about the amount of time that would save you throughout the day, let alone if it improved your motivation and your mood and your charisma. So in my opinion, eating healthy and exercising, they're just not optional. Whether you feel like you have time or not, you have to build time into your day for them. So,
Josh, I can't tell you how much I agree with what you just said. And what I'd like to do, you're invited back for a more detailed show on both your product and real estate and how agents can help themselves. I'd like to go to the second half. We can just talk about diet and health, because that's always
one of the favorite things. Yeah.
And I won't go into detail, but we'll talk then, because you hit on something that's really important. And
especially as an entrepreneur, especially people listening to this, people that are trying to do things with their life, this is the foundation, and you got to build a strong foundation before you can do other things.
If you look at, I turned 4 tours in Afghanistan. If you look at my pictures when I'm in Afghanistan, just because of motivation itself, and I'm pretty healthy,
sure,
but I would go and eat. I do a South Beach lifestyle, but I'd get in amazing shape before I deploy, and I'd stay in amazing shape.
Right.
And I'd eat as healthy as possible, because there's so much stress that if you don't do that,
you'll collapse.
Yeah. It's hard to explain, but if you look at me, I look like 10 pounds lighter, and I'm still in pretty good shape, but I am 10 pounds lighter in those environments.
Yeah.
But that's great. So we'll have you back and talk about that. The final success, and you're going to have to explain this, terra incognita. Did I say that right?
Yeah, terra incognita. So this is one that I might have to explain a little bit. I'm typing into the chat one of the books that I
yeah, put everything in on the chat. Folks, by the way, this is an amazing little tool that is evolved from BlabIM, which we put on the backside of timelinesofsuccess.com. We embed it on Read More. You can go on the right side, look at the notes and the script in the links, and just pop a link and get to any of these things so fast. It's an amazing tool. And I'll probably start talking about more. I don't know if I want to give out that secret, though, because it's really a powerful tool if you integrate it properly with a website. So anyway, so you put that in, the perfect health diet?
It's a little nerdy of a read. I mean, you got to kind of want to read some of the science behind what's happening with nutrition in your body, but it's by far one of the most comprehensive reads that I've had. And he gives you so much detail. And despite the fact that it's pretty scientific and there's a lot of information there, he breaks it down really simply for you. And in the end, you get this diet, which won't surprise you at all about the things that go into it, but he gives you the tools to actually kind of implement it. I think implementation, a lot of diets out there sound great, but implementing them is what gets really difficult.
Well, I'm going to invite him on Timelines as soon as we're done today. But notice I just put that link in there. So the link's right on the page. If you go to timelinesofsuccess.com, episode 150, open it up and you'll find these links and discussion. It's really great things. So you've got one last mission here of really explaining what your final point is, which is terra incognita.
I came across this concept. I can't remember where, but I heard this. I think it was on a podcast, I believe. And the concept is terra incognita. And I thought it applied so perfectly to being an entrepreneur and really to most parts of life, but especially to starting your own business. And the idea is terra incognita is Latin for unknown land or unknown ground. And that is like the perfect metaphor for what being an entrepreneur is, because if you think about what you're doing, if you go get a job and you're working for someone else, you constantly have someone telling you what you should be doing. And so there's not really any, there's no genesis of thought there. There's no, I'm not saying there's no creativity, but you're constantly having the map laid out for you, which is fine. And that's amazing. And it really can be a great thing to have a job. Believe me, I've had one. It's far less stressful than working for yourself. But when you are working for yourself, when you're an entrepreneur, you are in a constant state of being in the unknown. And if you understand this concept, it really helps you understand kind of like what you're capable of during a day. It really helps you kind of understand that you're always going to be in a state of feeling like you're uncomfortable, and you're always going to be in a state of feeling like you are incapable sometimes. And so that's okay. And so you need to become okay with that state. So terra incognita means unknown land. And so the way I like to think of it is like, have you ever played the game Zelda, Bill?
No.
I'm trying to think of a game. So in Zelda, you play
Risk a lot.
Okay. In this game, Zelda, I can't remember which it came out on the original Nintendo, I believe, but you are this little guy and you're moving around this map. And as you go through this map, the further you move into the map, when you first start out, the map is just black. You can't see anything. And so you see this big square, and you can only see just a small amount around you. But as you start to move into these areas of the map, it sheds light on it. And then so you can see that part of the map because you've been there. And then that stays open to you. And that's kind of how entrepreneurship is to me, that as you move throughout this map, you're going to slowly start shedding light on things. So even though you have no idea which direction is the right direction because you're standing in just a blank black area, the idea is you have to take one step and then another step. And then as you take those steps, you'll start to shed light on different things and be like, oh crap, I'm going the wrong direction. I'll go this way now. Until you're just constantly shedding light on things. And then you will start to see patterns of when you're going to be heading in the right direction or not. But the idea is that you're always going to suck when you first start at something like this. And you need to adopt that mindset and be okay with it. And so I do think that a lot of successful entrepreneurs are, in a lot of ways, they're courageous and brave to a fault. Almost, it's almost foolish in a way, because they're willing to kind of take steps into dark areas that they don't know what the outcome is going to be. And a lot of people aren't okay with that. So that's the concept of unknown ground, is just being okay with the unknown, dealing with chaos, and feeling pretty uncomfortable a lot of times.
Josh, with that, we're going to go to our last break. Okay, that means our second commercial is all about what Josh does, and it's his commercial. So Josh, tell us how people can get a hold of you and actually what your product is, what you're marketing.
Yeah, so digital marketing for real estate agents. If you are interested in getting ranked in Google higher, I will help you do that. I'll help you build out a strategy for finding buyers and sellers in your area, targeting the right keywords, which is where most people make mistakes. Get your website ranked. I can do the work for you, or I can just set up a strategy for you. I also build those websites if you don't have one. And then in general, I can just help you work on your digital marketing, point you in the right direction. You may or may not need my services, and so I'll try to let you know that ahead of time. So you can find me at alphaagent.net, not .com, alphaagent.net. And you can find all my contact information and social media accounts there as well. So I'd love if you follow me on Facebook. We also have a Facebook group that I'm trying to grow. It's brand new. I think I only have 1 or 2 people in it, called Alpha Mind, which is just a mastermind group for real estate agents who are looking to do to kind of push the limits with their online marketing. So feel free to join that, ask questions in there, and I will try to respond to them.
Josh, before we take off, I'm going to ask you after the show to drop in that Facebook link down at the bottom here on the right side. But also tell us what your phone number is, because you're not a secret agent. You'll actually put out your phone number.
No, I'm a one-man band here. So I mean, there's goals and dreams to grow further. But for right now, if you decide to work with me, you'll be working with me. So I have no problem giving out my phone number, 503-568-1502. So 503-568-1502.
I interrupted you. Say it one more time.
No worries. 503-568-1502.
Also, Josh has been doing this for 5 or 6 years, and he works with some top-notch agents, and he sees what works and what doesn't work. And great conversation you missed. For those people who are on Blab, got to watch the behind the scenes conversation. But I want you to thank you for coming on, Josh, as we come to the music here with my great sound machine here. You can get all the notes, the blog script on the right side. Go to timelinesofsuccess.com. And it's been really nice, Josh.
Hey, pleasure. Thanks for having me on, Bill.
And remember, if you're listening up there, stay on to come up and ask Josh live questions on Blab at timelinesofsuccess.com. Say goodbye.
Yeah,
Putting on this. We had a great discussion afterward. We got a few people on. Roxanne dropped off, but I just want to show people what it looks like after the show at blab.im. And Richard's got a question we're going to ask offline. It's going to be, what am I using Blab for? So thanks, Josh.
All right. See you guys. Thank you.